jihad is not just allowed, but made mandatory upon Muslims if they are militarily strong enough and there is religious persecution taking place anywhere. What I was trying to say was that imagine that we have been expected to fight against others if they are resorting to religious persecution. What a shame if we ourselves get involved in religious persecution. We pick a few people, some minorities, and we force upon them our religious understanding. We have every right to deliver the message politely and wisely, but we have got no right to push down the throat our message to anyone, because that is what religious persecution is. And that amounts to actually destroying the scheme of the Almighty. The scheme of the Almighty is that this world should remain a place of trial, and the trial cannot take place without there being proper, true freedom. Everyone is being tested in accordance with his, her own circumstances. On the day of judgment, the Almighty is going to decide on the basis of who performed how well, based off based on his, her circumstances. But if there are people out there who do not want to allow some people to perform according to their own understanding, to choose freely, they are forcing them to choose their religion and not allowing them to believe in and practice a religion of their choice. But what they're doing is fitna. And the Quran says, Al fitna tu ashaddu min al qatl. Al fitna, religious persecution, is worse than killing. Because you kill one person. When you resort to religious persecution, you kill everything. You destroy the Almighty's plan. Some people are talking about your religion, your revered personalities, etc., in a way which you think is insulting. Well, tell them to behave, talk to them. But in no way we are allowed to tell others that they have no right to believe in and follow what they think is right. Actually, they have a right to preach as well. Like we have a right to preach others, they have a right to preach us. These verses, when they were revealed, it were the Muslims who were being persecuted, but the message is universal. Now, what you're mentioning is that at some stage, Prophet ﷺ, in my opinion, I would say, God forbid, did something which went against this understanding. No, he did not. My understanding is he did what Allah asked him to do. That is, to punish those people who rejected a messenger of Allah, who he was. Like Allah has always been punishing those who rejected the earlier messengers. Now, that is a completely separate law of the Almighty. Each time a messenger would come to his nation and the nation would reject him, the nation is going to be punished. This is what the Quran has been mentioning through the stories that it has narrated over and over again, of particularly six messengers: Nuh, Hud, Saleh, Lut, Shoaib, and Musa alayhi salam. These six messengers have been mentioned over and over again with their stories. And the idea is that each one of them came, delivered Allah's message, the message was rejected, and the nation that rejected the message were punished. Allah is mentioning it to let people know that our last messenger has come. If he is also going to be rejected by some people, they too are going to be punished according to that law. And therefore, he mentions in the Quran that Allah is going to punish them through your hands. So the only difference in this case was as different from the earlier times when it were the natural calamities, earthquake or a lightning or a flood would kill nations. But in this particular case, it was the swords of the companions who got rid of the enemies. And the Quran mentions it clearly. Talking about the battle of Badr, the Quran says, you did not kill them. فَلَمْ تُقْتَقْتُلُوهُمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ قَتَلَهُمْ. It was Allah who killed them. And وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ. The Prophet ﷺ, in the battle of Badr, he picked a few pebbles in his hand and he threw them at the enemy. And he said, Shanatul Wujuh, which is an expression of curse for the people who are on the other side. And it turned into a storm. like the earlier messengers, nations were punished. But that law does not apply to us anymore because none of us is a prophet, is a messenger. For us now, that part of the law relevant to jihad is still applicable. That tells us that if you are strong enough and if you are organized as a state and there is religious persecution happening anywhere in the world, you would first obviously try as best as you can to stop it from happening. But if it doesn't happen, if your diplomatic efforts fail, then you will fight. You'll not allow it to happen. I was actually reminded of this particular principle rule in one of these East European countries, which was a Muslim country, which was actually ultimately freed by these what they called NATO countries. Or the American President Bill Clinton went there, and he made a presentation, and he said that from now on, no country is going to be allowed to persecute people for religious reasons. I said, oh my goodness, this is actually what the Quran says. Somebody belongs to a different religion, and there is a nation which these Yugoslavians, the Serbians and others, they did. He said this will not be allowed, which is what the rule should be. So it's actually a principle which people do understand. If you are powerful and you can see that there are some people who are being persecuted because they believe in a certain religion and they follow certain rituals, then this is fitna, and this really needs to be eliminated with military might, because this is not tolerable. This is a free world. We need to let people know what we think is the right understanding,